You're my only hope, Jokic won. 2016. I mean, it's a long, long time ago. And that's the last time Europe didn't win a single major award at the end of the NBA season. Hello, I'm Ryan, and welcome to Ball in Europe. I just had to get the really, really scary part out of the way first. Europe as a continent is many, many countries, many, many cultures. But the one thing it's really built up a habit of is coming home at the end of the season where we can say, that guy, that guy, that guy. Obviously, Nikola Jokic many times won an NBA award, or Rudy Gobert, or Giannis. Actually, Giannis is going to be relevant here in more ways than you think. They came home with a nice trophy. I've got my, somewhere behind me there, you can see I've got my Larry Markkinen Most Improved Player Award little bobblehead. So yeah, it's normal for Europe to come out of the NBA major awards. Like, we're not talking about the all NBA teams, we're not about all defensive teams, we're not talking about any all anything teams, we're about the major awards. That also means stuff like clutch player and stuff like that. I mean the real ones. So we're going to discuss essentially what the crisis is, like where the Euros are, what the situation is with the awards, and why Nikola Jokic is our only hope. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And now let's get to it. So for the purposes of this, we're limiting it to MVP, Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Most Improved Player of the Year, and Sixth Man of the Year. So the five big ones. Now, you might argue that some are bigger than others, obviously, but they're the five traditional beefy, big, and individual NBA awards. And I suppose the biggest concern straight away is that the guy who was seen as a lock for at least one award out of everyone going into this season was, of course, Victor Wembanyama, whose season ended very, very concerningly, it has to be said, with a deep vein thrombosis. So obviously we're all wishing Wemby the best with the treatment for that. But that actually had a knock-on effect on the awards situation, because Wemby entered the season as favourite for both MIP and Defensive Player of the Year. And MIP to me is the more interesting one there, because you know why he was up for Defensive Player of the Year. You do know why he was up for MIP, but no one ever in the history of the NBA had won Rookie of the Year and MIP back to back. So that would have been quite an extraordinary move for Wemby to do had he pulled it off. Of course, with his injury, you might go, well, part of the season. Nope, because the eligibility factor comes into play, because of course he's not going to hit 65 games, and that's just the way it is. So as a result, Wemby is off the board for award winners. So then he moved to Luka Doncic, who was again off the board because he's not going to hit 65 games this season. He can play all the remaining games of the Lakers this season, will not hit 65. That number is so important. He's gone, he's kaput, he's out. Several big names are out of it. I'm sure you're shocked to learn that Joel Embiid is one of them. Yeah, so that means Luka immediately gone. And you may go, well, was he really in contention for any at the moment? Probably wasn't. But, again, that's the obvious name you expect to be in certain awards conversations. Gone. Get him off that board straight away. And then you come to Giannis. And Giannis, again, not really in the conversation. Get him around, he's having a very, he's got the stats, he's got the numbers, but he's just not at the top of conversations, And so that sort of is the issue, and also why Nikola Jokic and, anyone else you can think of who's a well-known Euro who wins a lot of awards is worth mentioning. And you might go, well, come on, if we're relying on such a handful. Here's the thing, that handful has done an awful lot of work, as has Laurie. Go on, Laurie. So 2015-16 was the last year Europe went without a single one of the major awards. It would have been a year later had Giannis not won MIP, Most Improved Player of the Year. So that's when the streak started. It has gone every year through to now, and now it's at risk of failing. So we're leaving MVP out of this part, just to put it into context where Europe stands. Rookie of the Year, Zachary Rizaker, the only one remotely in the conversation, and he's a distant third favourite according to most of the bookies. DPOY, I think we're basically off the board is the best way to put it. Like, we've got no one in there in the discussion right now. The same can go for Most Improved Player, unfortunately, as well. Six-man Santi Aldama is making a little bit of noise, but again, he's very distant in like the fifth or sixth favorite slot right now. So when you're looking at those awards, it's like, not great at all. No one's a contender really. Like, you might argue Rizaker is, but Rizaker, he's got the Riz and all that, don't get me wrong, but he's just not in a position where you think he's going to make that move. So this is unusual because, of course, it's been a while since there's been so little Euro activity that happened at the awards. Not to say there isn't international activity, which is very important for the next one, but that it's sort of other parts of the world where we're seeing it. Like Dyson Daniels is obviously in some conversations as well for his performances. Is a good example there from Australia. The Great Barrier Thief, by the way, is one of my favorite nicknames in the history of sports ever. It is just brilliant. I mean, it's got everything going for it. It's really witty. It's a clever play on words. It's relevant to where he's from. It's not offensive, which is, you know, I love offensive names, but you want the one that can extend beyond to everybody, and it ticks that box. And it's relevant to what he does. It's just a fantastic nickname. Yeah, I mean, Dyson Daniels, good work, great nickname. That's just it. You're just really good at that. So now we get to the main thing. The reason, I mean, it was a cover. It's how I opened this. It's all on Nikola. So Nikola Jokic is doing many, many good things this season. He is averaging a triple-double. It is a very high-scoring triple-double at that. He is either third or second when it comes to any major statistical category that matters in the NBA. And of course, he also had a 30-20-20 game the other day, which, for those of you who may have forgotten, was the first in the history of the sport. And he is second favorite, which is bizarre to me. Now, I know why, but we're going to get to the why in a second. But like, for context, these are legitimately better numbers than all of his previous MVP seasons, and the season he didn't win MVP, which was also very, very good, of those four-season run. Of course, he won 3 out of 4. And a lot of people said the reason he didn't win the third was voter fatigue. And my word, it really does scream at that this time. Like, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is having a very, very good season, especially as a scorer. But when you look elsewhere along it, you're kind of going, okay, yeah, he's a bit ahead of Jokic in scoring, but Jokic is destroying him when it comes to the other major counting stats. And like, the Thunder are, frankly, just have more contributors, you know? And there is, frankly, a very strong argument that Shai should have much stronger assist numbers as a result of that. Whereas Joker, like, you know, he's, you know, put that Denver team on his back, go Nugs, and they just have not gotten him the love he should. He's by statistics alone. If you're doing as Mike Malone, the coach of the Nuggets, pointed out, if you're looking at player A and player B blindly, like player A beats player B, I think he said 9 times out of 10, or you know, and I was like, only 9 out of 10. Like, seriously, player A versus B. When you look at the stats lined up, Shai versus Joker, it's like the Marung. Shai's having an extraordinarily good season, and he was, of course, in the conversation a year ago. And he should be in the conversation this year. He should just not be at the top of that conversation where he is currently odds-on favorite in the bookies. Nikola Jokic is. So that's a bit of an issue because overcoming voter fatigue is extremely difficult in anything, by the way, because just people... And voter fatigue is objectively stupid. It really, really is. Yes, we always like something new and shiny, but to let that get in the way of recognizing arguably the greatest season in NBA history, because it's not like, you know, Jokic is hogging to get there. Hi, Russell, to get that triple-double average. He is, you know, he's being a dude. Like, he's being very, very efficient. It is a high-efficiency triple-double average he's delivering here. And that's why I'm kind of looking at it kind of going, come on, like, we are talking an all-timer season, and you're just going to say that voter fatigue get in the way of doing it? So what really can be done to save it, to keep the streak going, to keep Europe on its regular, gets a piece of, you know, tin to come home? Well, it's not tin really, it's crystal, isn't it? To come home at the end of the season. And honestly, it's an attitudinal focus. Like, you know, all of us in this side of the Atlantic can do all we want, say this, that, and the other. Everybody in Denver can do it as well. But really, it's going to take an awful lot more in the national conversation to say, for people, and I say national, I mean the US national conversation. No, this to my buddies in Canada. I love me some raps. And like, get those talking heads and those players and the likes saying, listen, this is unthinkable stuff from Jokic. You know, it's one thing if they were close, by the way. If I thought it was close, I would probably say vote Shai if I thought it was close. I don't think it's close. I think it's clearly one-sided that Nikola Jokic should be walking MVP this year. And that's the difference. You know, if it was a, you know, flip that coin, I'm probably going, Canada. You know, and of course, you know, that's the thing. It will still be an international winner, which is always great for the globalization of the game. But like, Jokic deserves his 4th in 5 years, and you might go, oh, come on, then you're putting him in the all-time greats. He is an all-time great. Like, seriously, yeah, he's only got the 1 ring so far. Um, Not a factor to me, honestly. It's because the MVP is, by its very nature, a regular season award. And this is one of, if not the greatest regular seasons a player has had in the history of the NBA. And I just think it's that simple. And I think people are overcomplicating the need to go, we got to find a way to not give Joker the award. Like, this isn't like handicap horse racing, which even for our US viewers is going to be unusual to explain. But trust me, it's like, this isn't like, is Jokic going to have to like start, putting up triple doubles every night with a literal hand behind his back, not just a proverbial one with the voters to get over the hump? I don't know, but like something at that national level, US has to change the conversation. Like, influential talking heads have to do it, I think. And by talking heads, I don't just mean the people on TV. I mean the players. Have to start, bringing this up and say, listen, like, this dude, he is that dude. So, whether it'll happen or not, I don't know. But I think that's what's required at this stage for it to happen. Because, Mike Malone, with you all the way, man. But I just don't think that's going to be enough on its own. So yeah, that's where it's at. That's where Europe's at. The streak is very much in danger here. And that's it for this video. You may have noticed earlier this week we released a documentary called Enemies. If you haven't already, I really do encourage you to watch it. I put an awful lot of work into it. So please, for the love of everything, give it a look and share it with your friends. Tell everybody. And also, for this video, though, I should really get back on topic. Let me know if you think any Euro will win any award, if any Euro deserves to win any award, or who you think should win the major NBA awards this season. Okie dokie. That's it from this sad rant, I suppose, but hopeful rant, I suppose. I'm going to be morbidly hopeful, I'll call it. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I will see you all soon.